So last week I had a video go viral. Viral for me, anyways. And the video was titled Owning 0.25 of a Bitcoin is going to be a very, very, very big deal. So I wanted to do a follow-up video here. And this one's going to be titled How to Get to 0.25 of a Bitcoin. Because it's pretty easy for me to sit here and say, hey, get to 0.25 of a Bitcoin. When in today's Bitcoin price, that's about $25,000 US. And I don't think there's a whole lot of people who have that sitting around in their checking account. So in this video, I'm going to explain 3 different ways that you can accelerate your path to 0.25 of a Bitcoin. And we're going to start actually with a question though, from a question or a comment, you might say, from the original video. And it was from a fella named Reno. And Reno and I had a good conversation in the YouTube comments. But let's read his comment here and then we can talk about it quickly. So Reno says, why do you Bitcoin people constantly try and say housing is going to crash and depreciate in a true market? Real estate over thousands of years has always held and increased in value through different currencies, wars, regime changes, and markets. But now Bitcoin is going to stop the need for this basic human necessity. It's not like humans are going to stop producing more people and housing demand will drop. So first of all, I laughed at you Bitcoin people there. And I said the only reason real estate has gone up is because they printed more money. And so I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. But first thing, I want to clarify a couple of different things. So yes, Reno is correct in the sense that we will always need housing, right? But there's a difference between buying a house to live in it, utility, and buying a house to rent out or just to store some value. Those are 2 different things. And over the past 50 years, I think that rich people, they've been buying and using real estate as a vehicle to store their value because rich people don't hold cash. They're not idiots, right? And so when you think about holding fiat, your purchasing power just goes down and down and down and down. And that's why this gap here has been widening so much, because if you are wealthy and you do hold assets, those assets have been going up with inflation. But if you don't have any assets, your life is just becoming more and more expensive. So that's the gap that's happening right now. And real estate would be part of that equation. But the other thing too is that he mentioned that you can't create more land at Lake Tahoe, which I agree with. And there's oceanfront property, there's scarce farmland, and in this case, there's lake property at Lake Tahoe. You can't print more of those unless you're in Dubai. But for the most part, what we're talking about here is housing in cities. Very, I wouldn't say cheap, but very easy to replicate. If the demand for real estate goes up, it's not that hard to create more houses and build more houses to meet the demand. Supply can easily meet demand there. And that's how these 2 assets differ. Regardless of how many people want to buy Bitcoin, we cannot increase the supply of Bitcoin. And that's why the price has gone up. And that's why the price will continue going up forever. But let's look at the housing prices in real terms. So this is from the UK. And you can see here, I don't know how well you can see this chart. I'll try to zoom in a little bit more. But you can see the green line here is the housing price index. And the blue line at the bottom is housing prices measured against gold. So this is in dollars, this is in gold. And you can see that, yes, for the last 75 years, the price of real estate has been going up. We're at an all-time high right now in 2025 in the UK. But if you measure it in a real currency like gold, it's actually since 1975, the housing prices haven't gone up in real terms. Actually, it's for 1953. I didn't even notice that before. 1953, housing prices in the UK haven't actually gone up in 75 years in real terms. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And it's the exact same thing in Canada here. It says Canadian home prices are at 1988 levels when measured in gold. So most people measure their houses in dollars, and that's why they see it going up and up and up. But when you compare it to, when you measure it against a real currency like gold, which cannot be created, you can see that it hasn't actually gone up in 75 years. So anyways, Reno and I had a good chat. He actually shared his phone number. said, let's go for a round of golf in Vegas. And I do think that Bitcoin and real estate are going to coexist because he's right. We're always going to need houses. But I think there's going to be a large transition, a large outflow from the real estate market and into Bitcoin. Personally, I sold my rental house back in 2022, 2021, somewhere in there. And I bought Bitcoin because it just didn't make sense. The performance in Bitcoin is better. There's less work and there's no leaks, no tenants. So that's what you got to keep in mind here, is that even though it appears that you might be making profit on paper in real estate, and he said, yes, have a real estate investor on the show and see what they say. And it is different. Owning one or two rental homes versus 200 or 300, those are two different things, two different comparisons. But I still do think that even if you had 200 or 300 rental homes, I think you should probably trade half of those in and buy some Bitcoin. And the reason I say no leaks is because if you bought Bitcoin today and you sent it to your cold storage wallet, let's say you sent 1 million sats to a cold storage wallet. You open that wallet up in 100 years from now, it's going to say 1 million sats because there's no property tax. There's no storage fees. There's no management fees. There's no insurance. There's no leaks in Bitcoin. And you cannot say the same about real estate. There's plenty of leaks in real estate. But anyways, let's get to the point here. Let's figure out how to get to 0.25 of Bitcoin even faster. So I got a little spreadsheet here. It's just, kind of a visual instead of having to look at me. So the first thing that you can do is trade your stocks for Bitcoin. In the original video that I did, I said, take an inventory of your assets, write down all of your assets. And in that, I included a little section called your stock portfolio. But what I would encourage you to do is actually take a deeper dive into that and see what's actually making up that balance. Is it bonds? Is it stocks? Is it Tesla? Is it Nvidia? Is it an index fund? Because a lot of these investments actually haven't even been keeping up with inflation for the last couple decades. So take a good hard look at that. And I remember when I was a CPA, I was working at an accounting firm and we had our pension retirement fund with Manulife. And every year I'd get a statement saying, this is what you're holding: global equities, Canadian equities, global bonds. I had no idea what anything was. It basically just said, how risky do you want to be? And I cranked that thing up because I was like 25 years old. And I'm like, I don't really care about earning 2% a year. So I cranked it up. I didn't even know what I was holding. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there watching this who would be in the exact same position. So if you can get access to an investment statement, look at what's making up your balance there and start swapping those for Bitcoin. Start swapping the losers for Bitcoin. And unless any of those stocks have had a 50% annual rate of return, swap it for Bitcoin and you're going to get pretty far ahead on your way to 0.25 of a Bitcoin. So I'm going to type this next one out and it's probably going to scare a lot of people, but that's okay. I have a brilliant strategy for you here. Refinance your house. And again, it sounds and looks scarier than it actually is, but let me explain my logic here. So refinancing your house, let's say that your house is worth $500,000. If you were to sell it tomorrow, that's what you would get for it. And you can actually find the assessed value of your house on your property tax statement. So let's say that your house is worth $500,000 and your mortgage owing on that house is $300,000. That means that you have $200,000 net equity in your house. And you can go to the bank and say, hey, I want to take out a line of credit against my house. This is called a HELOC, or a home equity line of credit. And you don't have to take out the full 200,000. You can take out 5,000, you can take out 10,000 or 20,000. And you can just put that directly into Bitcoin. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to take this off the screen here because I want you to pay attention to this. This is brilliant. So most Bitcoiners would have a hard time convincing their spouse to do this. And so what you can do is you can actually take that $200,000 equity in your house. And let's say you wanted to buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. Take out a $25,000 line of credit, take half it and buy Bitcoin, and take the other half of it and upgrade your bathroom, upgrade your kitchen, build a new deck, buy a hot tub, something that your spouse would be happy to get behind, and something that will actually increase the value of your house. So I think that strategy is genius. And I I want you to let me know in the comments if you've tried this before and your spouse said no, and if you're going to try that strategy. I think that that's genius. You get the best of both worlds. You get some value in your house, you keep the spouse happy, and you get some Bitcoin out of it. So I'm going to add there, keep spouse happy, just so you don't forget that. And the third one here is compounding. Compounding Bitcoin. Number 3, compounding Bitcoin. So what I mean by this is I want you to start buying Bitcoin every single week. Set up a recurring buy, DCA it's called, and you can buy $20 worth, you can buy $100 a month, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you're not going to notice coming out of your bank account. And you can use something like Bitcoin Well, where you can actually just set up a automatic payment to come out of your account every week and buy Bitcoin with that. It's going to take you 5 or 10 minutes to set up, but then you're never going to have to think about it again. And after a decade or two, what might have been 0.25 of Bitcoin is now 0.3 of a Bitcoin. And at that time, those 5 million sats or 0.05 of Bitcoin is going to make a very big difference in your lifestyle. So that's one, set up like a DCA recurring buy. The second thing I'd say is like take a look around your house, do some spring cleaning, start trading some old things that you haven't used for a couple of years in for Bitcoin. That could be $100, that could be $500, but it doesn't matter. Just start compounding and start earning sats every single week. And the third one is that you could use something like ShakePay. I use ShakePay for every single purchase that I make. It's available here in Canada. If you're in the US, use something like Fold. It's very similar to that. But I get 1% back in Bitcoin for everything that I buy. For myself, for our business, everything I get 1% back. And if I showed you how many sats I've earned in ShakePay over the last couple of years, your head would explode. But you can start doing that today. And even this morning, you shake your phone on ShakePay, and I got 300 sats just for shaking my phone. We're going to look back in a decade from now and laugh and just be in complete disbelief how many sats, what the incentives were back in 2025. So something like ShakePay, something like Fold. What else is there? ZBD. You log into the ZBD app every day, take a poll. I got 100 sats yesterday for doing a poll. For answering your question, I didn't even have to get the answer right. And I got 100 sats. Something like Fountain, where you could turn on you could listen to a podcast for an hour. You don't even have to have the volume on. And you can earn 50 sats, 20 sats, 10 sats, whatever it is. Forget the dollar equivalent of that. Just focus on compounding sats. And in 10 years from now, you're going to be absolutely blown away with what you've been able to compound and what those sats are worth. So that's what I got. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you take some action, because it is only going to get harder and harder and harder to accumulate Bitcoin. There's going to come a day where we look at our wallets in Bitcoin, and that's pretty much the maximum we're ever going to have. So again, I talk like in decades, but I think it's going to be much quicker than this, where we're actually going to be able to put a dent in our Bitcoin stack. So that's it. Keep in mind here, we are right about Bitcoin. We are right about Bitcoin. So I'm going to put all the links in the show notes here for Bitcoin Well, for ShakePay, for Fountain, for ZBD, and start taking this stuff seriously. Because if you don't, you're never going to get to 0.25 of a Bitcoin, and you're going to spend the rest of your life wondering what I could have done differently, why I didn't take this stuff more seriously. You're going to be sitting in your rocking chair, and your grandkids are going to be punching you in the knee and saying, "Grandpa, why didn't you buy more Bitcoin back in 2025? What the hell were you doing? What were you thinking?" So this is a shortcut. It's not going to be easy regardless. You still have to keep that Bitcoin safe, but this is going to accelerate things and ensure that you can be very financially free in the future. That's essentially what you're buying in the future. Time and leverage. That's what Bitcoin's for. It's the best place to store your time and your energy. It has zero leaks, and it is the best asset that has ever existed in human history. So take advantage of these times. They won't be around forever. And I hope you have a great day today. We'll talk to you on the next one. Bye-bye.